The next thing that's very, very important for us all who are doing cranial work is to be able to find the cranial rhythm. The cranial rhythm is the pumping of the cerebral spinal fluid, which is done at the sphenobasilar junction. So what that does for the rest of the body, you can feel it everywhere on the body, but there's certain locations that are like listening locations that you can monitor and see how it is. This is an exercise that I want everybody to understand. You can try it at home. What this is a bucket with a little bit of water in it, and then it's got a piece of cellophane. Now, when you do the cranial work, we're talking like 5 grams of pressure with physical pressure that is about the weight of a nickel. So you can also hold a nickel and see how heavy that is, or have a nickel next to you. So if you feel like you're getting too heavy, just pick up that nickel and set it on your arm or your hand or something, and make sure that you're not going deeper than that, because you'll miss everything if you're going too deep. So this has the cellophane on it, and there's water underneath it, and our skin, then there's the water underneath, the lymph stuff, then there's sometimes there's the fascia underneath that, and sometimes there's a little layer of fat there too. But it's very, very, very gentle work that we want to do. So I want to also have the students, the apprentices, do this as well, is you're going to put your hand on this cellophane and just kind of move it around and make sure that you don't have any water that's going to be spilling out, and just kind of just move it in different directions. And that is the pressure that you'll have. If you push too deep, you're gonna feel something a little bit differently. But you want to stay right on that surface and move that around and see if you can. You'll also see how the cellophane kind of pulls. So that would be kind of like unwinding some of the tissue. Okay, who wants to try that first?
I'll go ahead.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah,
That helps
it's light, isn't it?
realize how little you have to.
Yeah, very little. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of just how light it is. And do try that or pay attention to that, because that's now if the body wants you to come deeper, it will pull you in, but you don't want to put any force other than that amount of force on it, and let it just slide around. And then that's where you'll work. And then if the body says, I need a little bit more, it will pull you in. When it's done pulling you, in fact, I want you to also come back here and pretend like the body underneath all this is pulling you in, so you feel a little bit more of a pull in, and then it'll push you out when it's done. So that's the sensitivity you want in your hands. Try it again, Christy, and then just kind of let your hand go. Pretend like it's pulling you in. You can feel it's still very light, but it's pulling you into a little deeper space, and then it'll push you back out. Of course, I guess the water could do that. It's smart. Yeah, start with the normal pressure, and then as your palm, get your whole palm down, and then feel like it's pulling you in. That's pretty heavy there. Yeah, that looks better. And then, so you move that around and you can see how that would feel, but the body will pull you to that level. And then when it's done, then it just gently pushes you back out. So it's very cool. It's more of an energy thing than a physical thing. But that's what we're developing. We're developing that part of us that we kind of lost somewhere. Yeah, it's been drummed out of us, or we've been made fun of, or whatever. Finding the rhythm of the cranial-sacral fluid. It's got a flexion and extension feeling to it. So what that does is it's kind of a diagnostic tool to see how balanced the body is. So what you're going to look for, Dr. Upledger had called it SQUAR, is the acronym, which is symmetry, quality, amplitude, and rate. So that's what you're just going to feel at these different locations. And then I'm going to have the apprentices coming up and just finding it on the easiest place to find it, which is the thighs, so that they can get a feel for it. It's an inward and outward feeling, a flexion and extension kind of feeling as you feel that rhythm. And you can find it anywhere on the body, but it's important because when you get to the head, when we start to do the head bones, you have to follow that rhythm with certain bones more so than other bones, but it's very, very important that you follow that rhythm. It's kind of tuning it in with the body. So the first location is, it can be the bottom of the feet or it can be the top of the feet. And so you just feel there and you want to find that rhythm, or the top of the feet here, and you just find the rhythm. It's going to take a little while. Again, you're like 5 grams cellophane weight, and you're going to find that rhythm. So when you're doing this, you want to check out the symmetry, the quality, the amplitude, and the rate. And just kind of just get that in your hands. You can check that at the end, and you'll always feel a difference in the cranial rhythm. Sometimes it's very balanced to begin with, sometimes it's really far out, but then you know where the restrictions are in the body. Then at the thighs, same thing. You just feel it, and it's very light touch, the in and out of that whole thing. Then you can go to the hips and feel the rhythm there. You'll want to take more time with it than what I'm doing. I'm just showing you the locations. But when you actually get into the work, you want to take a little bit more time so that you can actually feel a few of the ins and outs, the flexion extensions, and then you can go to the shoulders. And that's basically the places that you will look. Now remember, I'm going to tell you this because this is how significant it is. I was teaching a class, just showing them about cranial work in a massage class years ago. And I felt a very odd thing happening on one leg of one guy at the foot places where I was listening to the rhythm. And then when I got up here to the thighs, it was back in a very good balance. So I mean, a lot of this was what I have experienced for the first time. So I just said, I don't know why, but I just said, there's something going on here. And so because the rhythm feels different between here and here. And I mentioned that to the class, even though I was kind of insecure about saying that. And then he piped in and he said, I had broken this leg. And so that leg was off kilter, but the rest of the body from there up was in balance. It was much more symmetry to it. This one didn't have the symmetry, it didn't have the quality, it didn't have the amplitude or the rate like the other leg. So that's just a little hint of how you can kind of detect these things. As you work with it more and more and you develop your intuitive senses a little more and more, you're going to become a lot more acute to what's happening, and then it's not going to be so scary, or your mind is going to sneak in there and say blah blah blah. You'll just know that you know, and that it's right there. So that was about the first time that I really noticed a big difference between the symmetry and all of that with the rhythm. And the other thing that you might want to think about doing is, if you feel something really off, not just a small amount, but something pretty significant, you can ask your client or patient if there's anything that's happened to that leg or hip or whatever, wherever you're at, or something in that general location. And oftentimes they will say something. It could be a childhood injury. Sometimes they might say no because they forget, but then later on they might say, oh, you know what, when I was a baby I tripped over something, and that would be it, because these childhood injuries and even birth trauma stay with us until we correct them. So that's just another component of it all. So don't be afraid to ask. Whatever you pick up with your hands, if it doesn't seem like it's right, Don't even think about it. Just know that you're feeling something different. Know that there's something going on. If they don't recognize it, it's because they haven't dug it up deep enough. So that would be something that you want to just be confident that if you felt it wrong, that's fine. Sometimes people will say, I didn't feel anything any different. But you know, when you get your hands on them, you'll feel the different rhythm happening after like the follow-up session that they have. So they won't feel anything different. But if you feel that there were changes going on, just know that there's changes going on and let them slowly discover it as it happens, because not everybody is that tuned in. So just know that what you're feeling is accurate. And you don't necessarily know what it is exactly, but that there's something going on. And that's all you need to know. There's something going on, and the body is going to correct it. That's all you're there to do, is hold that space and let it happen. Okay, so Peggy, just place your hands, one on the thigh about here. Yeah, there, and then the other one. And then go to like you felt like on the cellophane and make it very, very light, very, very light. Now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to monitor to see, and when I want to see when you start feeling it, I want you to tell me if it's going in or out. In would be this way, out would be that way, okay? And let me get into position here. Okay, so you tell me when you're feeling it.
So I feel out and in and out.
And what is the pressure of your hands?
Not very much.
Okay.
And in.
Is the rhythm pulling you that much with your hands? Or are you pushing the rhythm?
I'm picking up the rhythm. Once I move my hands, I feel it lighter now.
Yeah, you need to be very, very light.
Yes.
And your hands shouldn't move a whole lot.
Okay. So in,
Correct.
out,
Yep, that's right.
in, out, in.
Yep. Yep, that's the rhythm.
So
You
very
gotta-
subtle.
Yeah, so you noticed when you lightened your hands.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, and you were
Control.
on
I was
cue
wanting
with
to
my.
control something.
Yeah, you were.
And then
I could tell you were
yeah.
pushing it. Yeah,
But then after I stopped doing that, there was a natural feeling that it was.
yeah. You have to let the body do it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Perfect. Good. So just remember, no pushing.
Natural-
No control. No control.
There's natural rhythm.
Okay, we'll switch people. Yeah, we did the first part already, yeah. So, you felt it, so I'm going to have you place your hands like about so, very, very light, like cellophane light, and I'm going to monitor down here and see if you're feeling it correctly. And stay really light and feel like if you have to pull out a little bit, let your whole hand be on the body, but very light. Don't be off the body. And just wait and then tell me which direction it's going. Out or in.
Out. Yeah.
You're right so far.
Out. In.
Did you ever feel it kind of stop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When it stops like that, that means that she's in some kind of a process.
Okay.
So you just wait on that. When they're in process like that, the rhythm will stop. And that means, especially when you're dealing with the emotional work, that's when you're over target. So if you feel it kind of stop like that, oftentimes that can be what's happening, or it can be just that the rate is very slow. It can be one or the other, so you'll have to kind of tune in on that. Usually when you're just checking the rhythm, they can be into a process, or it could be just that their rate is really slow. So that's where, when you go with each of the listening locations, you're going to find that, there's going to be more continuity to it.
So I was having a hard time, so you think that's what happened and just
Oh,
kind of...
yeah, I stopped for me too. So,
Okay.
yeah. So let's try it one more time so you can get a little more confidence at it. Just be sure that the hands are light, but that you're engaged, so that you're like melded into that body. And okay.
Feeling out.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
There's a slow rate here.
Yeah. Out.
Correct. You've got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. It's scary, isn't it? Yeah, it's very subtle, but it's really significant, and you'll understand more when you get to the head bones, because especially the sphenoid bone, you have to follow that rhythm. Okay, good job. Really good job.